The Brooklyn Bridge is considered to be a masterpiece of the 19th century. It connects the island of Manhattan with Brooklyn over the East River. The original design belongs to John Roebling, a German civil engineer who designed and constructed other suspension bridges, such as Roebling's Delaware Aqueduct in Lackawaxen, Pennsylvania, and the John Roebling Suspension Bridge in Cincinnati, Ohio. Those designs highly contributed to the prototype he had for the Brooklyn Bridge. In 1869, he formed the New York Bridge Company and his design was approved. The design of the bridge broke barriers because they used steel instead of iron, which was commonly used in suspension bridges. Steel made the bridge much stronger and stable. Also, the Brooklyn Bridge is 3,460 feet in length and was the longest of its kind in the world, being 50% longer than any other suspension bridge. There were various limitations in New York during the time in which the Brooklyn Bridge was being built, such as transportation and economic values. When the East River was frozen, there was no way to get from Brooklyn to New York City. Before the bridge, the river froze when it was really cold, so it made transportation and trade harder. Building the bridge has been a good idea because New York was a crucial commercial ground. Although New York was rich, it did have some limitations since cargo ships were the main form of trade at the time. The Brooklyn Bridge would allow an expansion of trade that wouldn't be affected by drastic weather. The original engineers of the Brooklyn Bridge, John Roebling, died, and his son, Washington Roebling, became severely ill during construction. This blocked the workers from progressing throughout construction. After John died and Washington got ill, Emily Roebling, who was Washington's wife at the time, had to take over. This slowed down businesses, and many people were put in delay because of the poor transportation available at the time. Another barrier was actually building the bridge. According to some reports from people who have worked on the bridge, building the towers brought immense pain. If you were to go into the caissons, construction became very difficult since workers could only be down there for a maximum of 2 hours. Building the Brooklyn Bridge presented many issues to the lives of the workers. Economically, New York City in the 19th century was a very important port to the United States. The Industrial Revolution was in full swing, and New York City had numerous factories where immigrants flocked to. New York City was one of the places where Southerners sent over their material so they could send them to Europe to make products. In return, Europe sent back finished goods out of cloth and fabric. Making the Brooklyn Bridge proposed many issues, mostly because of the time and place in which it was being built. The construction of the bridge started in 1869 and ended on May 24, 1883. It took 14 years to build. The construction happened in between two cities. Construction occurred during the 1800s. William Marcy Tweed was a trustee of the bridge company, which helped fund the Brooklyn Bridge. Boss Tweed had a scandal where he opened the bridge to the public before it was finished to make a profit from the bridge toll. President Chester Arthur was the most supportive leader during the construction of the bridge, in addition to attending the official opening of the bridge. Working on the construction of the bridge was not an easy task, and it took many people to make it. Workers had to work in dangerous conditions using caissons or wooden boxes to dig up the river bed underwater, which was necessary to build a solid foundation. There was tons of air pressure, heat, and cold at the same time, which sometimes led to death or severe health problems for the workers. About 30 people died during the construction of the bridge.
Like every major change or event, there was opposition. The opposition was the people who believed in making the Brooklyn Bridge would be a waste of money and the ones that caused the stampede after spreading rumors about how the Brooklyn Bridge would collapse. The Brooklyn Bridge made people come together as a community since it would benefit the people in both transportation and economic ways because of the shipping cargo. Transportation became dependent on the bridge. It's easier to get from Manhattan to Brooklyn and Brooklyn to Manhattan because of it. Another benefit of the Brooklyn Bridge was that trade was made easier. Most of the other changes were positive, except for the fact that the bridge took around $1.5 million to be constructed. Since people are influenced by the completion of the bridge and see how beneficial it is, they are more motivated to build other beneficial pieces of architecture. Breaking this barrier would mean other companies would look at the Brooklyn Bridge for inspiration, whether it's based on the steel wire it was the first to use or how useful it was to the people. The sophisticated construction of the Brooklyn Bridge changed history and the way people would think when creating a bridge.